Hello everyone and welcome to another video in my camera series. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite panels in camera, which is color mixer. At first, let's answer the question, what is the color, or rather what elements make the color? There's three elements. This is hue, which is actual value. It could be green, yellow, blue. The saturation, which is intensity of this value. So do you want the color to be very punchy or rather faded? And luminance, which is how much light you put to this value. So it would make your color bright or rather darker. So in color mixer, we will be working with these three different values, and we can work with two modes. First, when you go to adjust, the first mode would be separate hue, saturation, luminance. So at first, if we would be working with the hue, we can adjust the hue of the colors, so the value of the colors. If we want to move to adjust saturation, we will move to the saturation of all of the colors, and then luminance of all of the colors again. We can also work in a little bit different mode. It will be all the same, but when we switch to the color, we'll be working with each color separately. So when we want to work with the red, we can adjust hue, saturation, and luminance all in red, and then move to another color, for example to the blue, and then adjust hue, saturation, and luminance of this color. I prefer to work with hue, saturation, luminance, so if I see something is not right, I'm going to work with hue first on all of the colors, check what looks better, then check intensity of the colors, etc. So how these sliders actually work, and once again I will mention that these sliders here are exactly the same sliders that are here, but they are just placed in the different order. So going with hue, saturation, luminance, we can adjust the value of the color. So for example, if we think some color is too yellow and we want more of the orange tone for this color, we can grab the slider and change the hue towards oranges. So let's go back. If we want the same color to be rather more yellow, we will move it towards more of the yellow value here. So let's go back to 0. If we want to work on the greens, which is often, it catch the yellow tone actually, so we could work on the greens, and as you can see, we can move it more to the yellow side, and the greens will be reminding us more of the autumn maybe. If we go to opposite side, the green will be more lively, getting into this blue tone. So we can do it with every single color. We can manipulate the values of every single color, as you can see, yellows and anything else that is here. When it comes to the saturation, as I said, that would be the intensity. So if I want to have intense grass over here, I would increase the saturation on this value, and as you can see, the grass is becoming much more vivid. And then if I would go to the luminance, I would add the light. So if I want to add more light to this grass, as you can see, it will be also, I will use the same word, vivid and shiny. So let's do something on this image. As you can see, this panel allows you to do a lot with the colors. It's actually one of the most powerful panels to work with the colors in camera or Lightroom. So I'm going to start with the hues. What I would like to do here, I want to make the green a little bit more fading into the yellow tones. So as you can see, when it comes to yellows and greens, I'm going to move slightly towards the left. So I hope I can get this nice sunset effect over here. Oranges, I think they make me quite satisfied at this moment. So I'm not going to do anything else here, and also not with the reds. Maybe just when it comes to the reds, I don't want to get too much of the red tone, so slightly move more to the oranges. When it comes to the blue, I often like to play with the blue. We have some of the blue sky here. So some people like this effect, getting more into the cyan color, especially when it comes to some summer images. It looks quite nice, but at this moment I'm not going to do anything just yet. Then I'm going to the saturation, and once again I want the grass to make stronger. So I'm going up with these values over here. When I think of oranges, maybe not as much needed here yet. I don't want the green to dominate over the image, but I don't want my knees and this wall over here to get the color of the margarine, so I wouldn't go too far. And when it comes to the blue, I want to have vivid blue sky, so I'm going to increase the saturation over here. I don't have other colors like magentas too much over here, so there's not much I could do in this case, so I work with the colors that I actually have on this image. So then luminance, what I could do here, I want to bring up some more visibility on the lights over here, but maybe not on the yellows, because I notice if I increase the yellows, as you can see, I'm increasing also this part of the model here, and I think by playing with the hues here, I also affected the model face. I hope not too much. So at this moment I'm going to actually decrease the yellows and go more up with the greens here, and also to correct the model face, I will change the oranges more into the yellows. So I think it all is going to get equalized, and I think we got really nice effect at this moment. So what else we can do? If we would like to make the sky a little bit more dramatic, we can decrease the luminance on the sky. I wouldn't recommend to decreasing this too much because we will get unnatural results. So maybe just a little bit, maybe just to this point, minus 15. I will get the straight values here to make it easy. And also, if we want to have the view, all of it at once at the end, you can see what we did over here. So now let's keep the open view of everything and see what else we could do. I feel the model got a little bit dark, so maybe I can increase the orange a little bit more here and a little bit less for the yellows, just like this. It's always important to make sure we don't go too far in some direction, because it's really easy to make the mistake, and it's really easy to not notice that. But this is before, this is after, and I think this is absolutely great job we did. I would like to bring up some details on the code, but I don't think I will be able to do it. I would have to increase a lot of blue, and it doesn't have that much of the blue pixels. Maybe some purples, but also I don't have purples on this image, so I have to deal with this and I will have to handle this. So this is how you work with the color mixer. I don't think there is anything more I would need to do on this image, and explaining this is pretty easy. We can work with all colors separately and affect the values of the hue, saturation, and the luminance. Or if you want to be focused on one single color, I recommend using the color, but I prefer to work this way somehow. I prefer to see all of the colors at once. So that would be it. We can see if that would match some other images that we have here. I believe it could match, so we could save our work and match the settings to other images by making sure the first image is checked. Then what I would do, hit these three dots over here, sync settings, but I want to make sure that I will not synchronize other settings which are different across the images, so I would check none. And then where we need to find the right panel, which is color mixer, and let's do it. So important to notice also, it doesn't match to all of the images, so we would have to actually apply the corrections. For example, this image turned to be, to me, far too saturated, so I would take down the saturation for sure, because you need to remember that the images need to look pretty much the same, and some of them has more blue, so we need to be careful with these values. Let's see, this and this. Now Looks a little bit better now. So what I do now after this correction, let's also correct the yellow here a little bit better. So once it's done, I will synchronize this with some other images where I think the settings will be better, which will be these 5 images over here. So I'm going to synchronize it again. After I fix everything, once again check none and just color mixer. And I think now these settings match better for these images. So they are not overwhelming, too saturated. This image is fine. And I think this one is also fine. For this one, I will have to work on this vignette in a little bit later. And these ones I will leave for some practice at the end. So this is how you work with Color Mixer, which in older versions is called Hue, Saturation, Luminance, but of course it's exactly the same thing. For now, thank you for watching. If you want to know more things about me, see my portfolio and check my educational page. Check the links in the description, and I'm going to speak to you once again about Camera next week. So thank you and see you next time.